Well, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Looks like a pretty decent day out here for a plein air. It's about 5 degrees in Calgary. It looks like it's gonna hang in there for actually a couple more days like this. But yeah, I'm gonna show you along the river edge and going to downtown, sort of walking along the ridge here. I've seen a few scenes that I thought would be great for painting. So come and join me. I'll show you where we're going to paint today. So sometimes what you think you're going to paint ends up being totally different than what you originally thought. I was heading up on a ridge today that sort of looks down on the river valley here, but there was a little bit of smog in the sky heading towards the city, which I wanted to include in the landscape. So I've kind of decided on this area, and I think as the sun starts to come down, because it's already getting pretty low, I think I might get some nice colors in the sky today. Well, this has been one of those days where I can't decide what I want to paint, but I feel like I found something now that I find interesting. Like I say, the sun is going to be setting. I really like this tree that's backlit by the sky, and that sky is going to get a little warmer and a little more interesting over the course of this painting. So I'm going to set up here and start my painting. So you'll be able to see behind the canvas the actual scene that I'm painting today. I am using oils for this. The sun's going to hopefully give us a little bit more dramatic sky as it comes down. It's getting a little bit later in the day here, so the sky's really warming up as it goes towards the horizon there. It's about 2:30 right now, so I should have enough time to sort of capture the scene. I'm going to wait with the sky and put that in after, just because I think it's going to change quite a bit. I'm going to start with just a really simple drawing, putting that in with a brush and just some ultramarine and a little bit of burnt sienna. And just to get the basics of this picture, I'm actually got the camera on, so I'm actually using that picture that sits right next to the canvas as my way of framing in what I'm going to paint today. It actually really simplifies the process. So good little trick for if you're not sure of getting the composition one. If you can set up your camera so that it's what you want to paint, then it's really simple to just go in and put your drawing in before you start. So beautiful tree there. I love that tree. It's really going to be the focal point of this painting, and I think that's going to get even more backlit as that sun gets a little lower. So, and just beautiful right now. The sun's coming out just a little bit more, so really nice to bit here. I'm actually going to grab my viewfinder. For some reason, the light, the way it's hitting that camera, isn't working for me, so I'm just going to grab my viewfinder. Great little gadget to have along. I'm doing an 8x10 today, so I can set this to the proportions that I want, and this little viewfinder will catch that scene exactly where I want it, and I can transfer that to the painting. I'm going to grab that bigger brush. That's just not working for me today. I like to use the paint fairly wet as I get these first basic shapes in. There's not a lot of drawing with this picture. That's why I've decided to use the larger brush. It enables me to just go in and get those shapes in. These ones in the distance on that hill seem to have a little mauveness in that hill at the back there, so I'm going to get that in there. Just a little bit more blue, I guess. This tree I'm going to position right about there, I think. Just gotta look in that viewfinder for a minute here. Just a little bit first. Let's get that land mass in that's closer. It's gonna come sort of around like that, and the tree sort of sits right in there. Very interesting looking little tree that we have in this. I'll bring that a little bigger. One of the reasons it's best not to focus too much on any kind of detail at this point is because I find I will move this around a little bit as I get the drawing in. Rough inclination of those trees that come up in that past that distant hill there. Using a little bit of a warmer color here on the front just so that I can differentiate that land mass where it. Beautiful sun right now. I've left this part of the canvas a little bit white right now because there's a little bit of snow on there, and I want to keep that color clean there for a little while. Just nothing too detailed here, just scrubbing these trees in, trying to make them a little different in heights as they go along. The ones at the far end there seem to turn more into evergreens, so we'll just use a little bit more of a greener tone in there to kind of color note, just to remind me that they are different. Tree comes up right kind of, I'm going a little off center there with the base of that. It does have a little bit of an arc to it here. So put where I want to see those main masses there. Very, very rough. Just don't want to be precious at all at this point, just kind of, because this will change a little. I actually kind of really like the way that sky looks even now, but I am hoping that'll get even better as this day progresses here. Sometimes we can wait for those things though, and they just don't happen, but generally in Calgary here you get some pretty beautiful sunsets to work with, and even if they're not like really spectacular, they're pretty nice. That sun is warm. There's a branch on this that comes right up. I love that one. Kind of out into the sky there. These a little darker even back here. Now, there's a water line that comes in right around this edge here. I'm gonna kind of leave that white where I plan on putting in that snow. A bit of interest in the foreground here where there's a few rocks and things that are mainly just covering this canvas right now. It's been such a great year this year. Normally in Calgary we can get some very, very cold temperatures, especially January, February-ish. So we're very fortunate to have these really nice, lots of Chinooks this year. I guess due to, I think it's, what is it, El Nino or El Nino? I'm not sure, but one of the two. So it's made for some really nice painting opportunities. So I'm going to differentiate where those rocks come in here. Kind of very wet right now. Sure that comes over. Sometimes I find my camera moves while I'm working, and then I go look at the YouTube or the video later and it's not showing it very well, so adjust my camera here. Well, I just have to stop for just a moment here just so I can get a little bit of white out on my canvas, on my palette here. Asphaltum here, just to darken that, and actually a little bit more blue in there. The undersides of those grasses are quite dark. Color notes in behind there, darks. Move things around here. I feel like I've lost the position a little bit with my tripod, so just for a moment here. There we go. There we go. New little paint box that I'm working with now, so I had to adjust the palette because it was moving around. My little Gorilla box, I'm not used to using it yet, and it was on a new tripod also, so it takes a little bit of getting used to sometimes when you got new equipment. But I think we're there now. I'm just gonna keep checking to make sure I don't lose the camera position, but I think we're good now. A little bit of a really distant ridge back there that I just noticed that I want to make sure I get in. I'll lighten that up just a little bit. It's definitely on the cooler side because it's further back there, and it's just actually behind those trees, so I'll be scrubbing those trees back in after I get that settled in there, right? A little lighter with that. Want that to stay back there. And I'm gonna go back in and just scrub those trees in. They're fairly warm. They're, again, kind of backlit, so they're always come back in and do some sky holes in there after the fact. I do want to just get that snow ridge in there, just to remind me on the color note that that's there. Actually goes down towards the water there. There's a few little pieces of that too along. Let's get in that snow line that runs along the edge there. That a little bluer than that. Come in and brighten that back up after. Go just a little bit darker with that water. Now that I've put some other colors in, I can definitely see that that's not going to be dark enough. When you're out here plein airing, it seems like some days just go smoother than others. Setup wise, everything, you can have kind of off days where it just doesn't, it takes a while to get your whole picture done even. It's just one of those days where it just takes a little longer than normal, and you have to kind of be patient with yourself and realize that you're not always on your best when you come out here. There's always, differences in how, but that's the great thing about just doing these little practices. It doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter. They're just practicing, and you can just enjoy the day while you're out here. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece at all. It's just your expression of what you're feeling and seeing out here, and sometimes that's different every time you come out. It's There's always little mishaps with camera placement and things like that. I've lost a few videos due to just not knowing that your equipment has failed you at some point, and either your battery's not connected properly to your extra battery pack, or it's, you know, it's something's moved and it's come unplugged, but you just kind of have to learn to roll with it and not get too excited about that kind of stuff. It's just enjoy the process, whether it's, you know, whether it seems to have any kind of value other than just your plain enjoyment out here. It doesn't really matter. So putting in the blue of the water, that's kind of going upward as it heads to the back there, just slightly. There's a soft blue line inside this ice mound there. As each of these turns in, there's like a shadow line on the snow, so make sure we get that in there. I do just want to hint at those rocks there. Kind of just mucky colored, these ones are. They're normally would put that in as a mass, but I've kind of lost it a little ways back there, and just having to reestablish that in the drawing. Little hints of those, as say, a few of them. Don't want to get carried away with detail, though. We're just really just still roughing in and blocking in the main shapes here. And a little bit of hint at some snow here on that upper little hill, and up here also. Some little hints that run kind of behind the grasses there, along that edge. That sun is warm for an end of January day. It's definitely warm. I'm gonna take my coat off here for a few minutes. And those rocks are actually fairly cool, so adding a little bit of ultramarine violet into those, and these are sort of starting to get a little bit backlit on one side there. Adding a little burnt sienna into that ultramarine violet just to darken it more. capture the real golden light of those grasses. The sun is just really making them look quite bright. I'm not going to worry about the highlighted part of it right now, but just really want to get that gold in there I'm seeing. And that runs kind of all the way along that edge there, right into the distance. Some of that I'm seeing in this back hill also. Some of that shrubbery. A little bit more burnt sienna-y as it's in a little bit more a shade area. Kind of mixing it up with some warms and cools on that back hill there for interest. I can reestablish this tree a little bit in a bit. I just want to work kind of in the area behind it right now. In behind there that are looking a little lighter right now. Well, there's definitely some warmth coming into that sky, and I'm going to get that in there now, 'cause I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to get. I can kind of maybe adjust it a little, as much as I don't want to chase that light. I just want to start putting that in as that color is starting to really show back there. Those trees will kind of go up into that warm line that I'm putting in there. Work it down into the, add a little bit more white to that as I go along here. Some of these, oops, that was a little green, that was a little bluer than that. Some of these sort of heavy looking bits of sky there. Actually just gonna step back for a second and see how that's working for me. I'm seeing some really bright warmth coming now between these two. The sun is definitely starting to do its thing there. I just want to get this in quick and then leave it alone because I don't want to start chasing the light there. And more white in there behind that. Weight on the bottoms of these clouds there. This upper area, they're looking quite almost mauve-like. A little bit more warmth coming in on that side. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone now and start getting a little bit more of that rest of the picture done. We've gotten to the point now where we've pretty much covered the canvas. I'm just going to add a few more color tones into this, and there's grasses up front there. All there. That snow line is looking quite bright over there. Put just a tiny bit of lemon yellow into that color as the sun is hitting it. You're seeing quite a shine off of it. As you start to get used to painting outside, you start to kind of learn what areas you need to get done and painted in quickly, because you know they're going to change, and it can make a big difference on on your relaxation in the rest of the painting if you can get down some of those points that you know you're not going to be able to see later, and it's going to change the picture. So work on those areas that are just really the important parts to you of the painting, and then worry about the other details sort of later. But I am actually putting in a few marks of snow on that far side there. And there's just a little bit in the hills there above the grass line. And with that snow on top of this ridge here also. Sun keeps going in and out right now as it moves in and out of the clouds. Goes from cold to warm to cold to warm. But come a point where I'll have to put my coat back on soon, I think. Put some of these warmer bits of upper tree that are in front of that skyline while I can still see it, because I don't know how long that's gonna stay that color, or those clouds. Come back and hint at a few of those trunks of the trees a little bit later, but right now I just want to suggest the tops of those. There's some lightness showing through from some of that area into the back hill behind it. Kind of a softer mauvey color. watch my, I think I might have gone just a little high with that tree line, so just gonna put that sky back in a little lower there. Some of these lighter grasses up front here. Establishing some of these darks that are along the bottom edge of the grass. So I have to stop chasing the sky as it moves. I'm gonna start defining that tree a little bit more now. As that's backlit, it's very beautiful. I kind of lost my drawing that I had, but I can tell fairly well where I had that placed. Just going to go into a little bit smaller brush for that. Double check and make sure my battery is working, and it seems to be working pretty good here, the backup, so some of these branches almost disappear into the background because the coloring is very much the same, so I kind of want to mimic that here with the, and not be too solid with the lines. As that the light comes through it, they tend to look a little bit more broken, the lines of the tree. And I'm gonna stop after I get the basic shape of this tree in, stop from doing any more on it until I've gone a little further into the painting then, because those are details that if I have time I'll do a little bit more of out here. Otherwise they'll end up sort of getting done more when I get back to the studio. I really like the shape of this tree. I don't normally even care if I make the trees really too close to the scene in front of me, but this painting is sort of all about that tree. It's a very old looking tree. It's very got a little bit of character to it. I really like that. Around that base of that tree also. These grasses in behind here have a very reddy, very burnt sienna, kind of almost a touch of crimson in there also, that I'm gonna put in here as that sun sort of not as bright here. And there's some scrubby detail in there that there's lots of warm color and interest. These grasses. Get those brighter grasses that are showing up in that distance. Not as much right now, but they are there. They're kind of got that golden reflection of sun on them. Just trying to do some a little bit different marks in this grass so that it gives an impression. Some of these are actually flowing downward towards the bank, so we'll get that in there. Sort of a random direction I'm putting in them just so they don't look too stiff and These trees that are kind of showing on this back hill here are just kind of dark. They're not really even green. They're silhouetted by the light behind them. So just sort of getting a little bit of an inclination of the shapes of them because they are evergreen. And don't want to look like a lineup of Christmas trees, even though that's kind of what they're actually looking like over there. There's a few even I'm seeing just behind this area. So I'm gonna actually put my coat on here. 1 minute here. So sorry, I actually forgot to turn that on while I was adding some of these ripples into the water there. Just gone with a basic kind of a massing of the light on this far edge here. And then kind of made those ripples a little larger as you come towards this this front area here. Nothing too detailed, just some motion of water. I see a very dark shadowing kind of under this snow or ice formation there on the edge, so I'll put that in. Seems to run all the way around the edge there where the snow is, and then actually a little bit of a ripple still moving into that area. Light has definitely changed now, so I'm basically working mainly from memory, so I don't chase this light too much. I don't want to be changing the colors at this point, this far along in the painting, but just now kind of working on a little bit of the detail that I liked when I saw the scene. And the sun is still pretty right now, and it's adding still some warmth to the scene, not as much as was here initially, but it's still really pretty. Now I just want to capture some movement in this snow with a few spots where it's sunken in, or animals or birds have walked. And I'm going to use a fairly small brush, not crazy small, but small. And now is the point where it's okay to get those little brushes out if you want to add a little bit more detail to the picture. Actually, there's a little piece of stick that comes up in this area over here that I'll put in just for interest. And some kind of dots of dark in here that just kind of give it some character. You really need the dark to see the light, and the light to see the dark, so just kind of adding some interest with these color notes that may or may not be exactly in the scene, but as an overall look, you see them. I'm going to capture this little bit of warm light that's on the edge of the snow here. A few more rocks. Not really following the actual rocks that I'm seeing out there. It's just kind of trying to keep the shapes random and interesting, and put some darks in there first, and then we'll come back and kind of highlight the back sides of them a bit, or the top edge where that sun is clipping them as they got my hat on here because that sun is really quite bright. A few of them kind of coming into the water here. There's actually a piece of wood or something growing into that edge. Another rock over here. I do want to work on this little bit of snow that's at the front here. I've sort of left it so far. It needs a little bit of attention, I think. show just a little bit of that. For the foreground here. The back of those rocks there, just a bit. A little bit of interest on the snow banks, just so they gives them a sense that somebody's been there before or walked on those edges. So I'm gonna grab a small brush right now, quite a small brush, because I am going to put a little bit of that detail of those far distant trees in. Not like crazy detailed, but enough that you can kind of see that there's some trunks in there and some branches. Gives it a little bit more of a sense of distance, a little bit of we'll put just a little bit more branch work on this tree here, just so it gives it that sense of more than just a couple sticks hanging in the sky there. These I've copied the basic shape of the tree, but these ones are a little more random. I'm just sort of doing some squiggly lines and just to give it that busy effect that you see when you look at a tree that doesn't have any leaves on it. I find the less attention I give this and the more random I do it, the better it looks. So, and then knowing when to stop is a big part of getting that impression without overdoing it. Beautiful tree though. Makes a great little silhouette. Putting in some dark notes now into this water. Now that I'm not blinded by the sun that was hitting me there for a while. All right. I want to straighten out this snow line that I have up here. And there's some little hints of snow behind these trees at the base there that I'll get. Just again gives it more of a sense of depth in there. snow coming over the tops of that bank there. I just want to show that little bit of earth that sort of comes up between the snow on the far side there. Dots and dashes really just to indicate some snow over there. Lose my light here pretty quickly. One thing I really like right now though is there's this little bit of golden light on the water on this far side, and I think I want to put that in there. Sometimes the little gems that happen as the light changes are things that you can add without altering the picture too much, and they're just bit that comes kind of forward here too into this. Just seems to be just following the shoreline here. It's kind of a nice effect of light. Add that into the foreground a little bit. Making those ripples a little larger as they come forward. Well, I think I'm very much nearing the end of this painting, and I can tell because my fingers are starting to get very cold. So I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly. So just decided to detail just a few more of these rocks that are in this foreground here. Sometimes it's just really hard to put this away, but I think it's adding a little bit more to the picture, so I thought I'd show you that. Just kind of some rocks that fall right into this is under this grassy area here. And just sort of some gray tones and some little bit warmer tones going in there, and some little bit darker ones as they fall back into the distance there. And then just reestablishing some of these darks that kind of go under those grasses there on the edge. That's one thing about painting outside in the winter time. You know when you've been out here for long enough, because your body's gonna let you know. Your feet start to get cold and your fingertips, and I think that's a pretty good place to stop this picture anyways. So by the time I get packed up and out of this park area, it's going to be getting pretty dark, so kind of have to remember the safety issues too when you're out here. So thanks for joining me again on one more of these plein airs. I'll probably get this back to the studio, maybe do a few really minor touches to it if I feel it needs it. Other than that, yeah, hopefully I can get out one more time this week. The weather is supposed to stay fairly mild here. Thank you very much for joining me for one more plein air, and hopefully you'll join me for the next one in a week or so. Bye for now.